We're back. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC, and the Fully Loaded Transfer Show episode 4 is well underway. And it feels like we've been on a fair bit this week. It feels like it's like an in-season Loaded Mag. We've had show after show. But yeah,
to be fair, you have. I haven't. Well, I've had my excuses. I've been in the chat where I can though while I've been working. But yeah, it is. It's nice to be on as always when I get a little window. So yeah,
definitely great to have you on with us, Mark. So people can actually see you, as Paul said last night.
To be fair, I was getting the love. I can see Simon now and Geordie Toon for life. Bloody hell, it's Martin. Hope you're keeping well. Bring all the comments on, lads. All the sarcasm. I'm well able for it. The buzz.
Love it. Well prepared, Martin. But look, we're back, and to be fair, looking through tonight and looking through our conversations, it's like it changes every single week. I'm looking through some of the names, and the names are changing. The kind of the deals, the potentials are changing. They're all over the shop, and we're going to discuss it all tonight. Jordan is on his way. Do not worry about that, and you will be hearing from Lee at some point during the show. So all our favourites to come. But you know what I wanted to start with? There's been a little bit of talk about this today, not necessarily transfer related, but actually a few people have been putting these pictures out tonight of the St. James's Park revamp.
Yeah.
So one or two have obviously been in the stadium over the summer and actually put a few of the old revamps in, and you can see it at full effect. And look, this particularly those last two pictures might not seem like a lot, but being in St. James's Park and you look at those walls are like, they're not as pristine as what it looks right there. So the fact that they've given it a lick of paint, it looks brand new. They're putting a little bit of effort into the kind of like the inside of the stadium, the concourse where you purchase your foods and you drink. It makes a massive difference for a fan.
A lot of those back walls were just brickwork.
You know what? I think you're right.
Like certainly the back of the Gallagher, from my last time there, it was with those back walls coming up onto the concourse, not just plain brick. And then they took the big screen TVs down, and the bolt holes were still there, and they put the smaller ones up in the middle. Were they not?
I've seen a lot of bolt holes where the tellies used to be like.
Yeah, exactly.
When I've been up anyway.
I'm almost sure those walls along that back wall were just the plain brickwork. I don't remember them being painted.
In the Leases, definitely. I remember being in the Leases and for the Leicester game, and remember going in at half time to grab a drink and stuff. And it was definitely they definitely weren't painted. So
there's Paul Oxley and Tom Lynch just saying, just great bleach box. That's it.
So nice to see that they're making a bit of an effort to improve things, and it's going to be a very, very different walking into that St. James's next season. No doubt about it. So great to see. Daz, Chris, anything you want to add to that?
Sorry, Daz.
No, I was just going to say that it's great to see them doing a bit of work. Now's the time to do it when there's no games on. So let's spruce it up and something different for people to go back and see. It's going to be different for me when I go back anyway. It's been a long time since I've been back there, so can't really comment on the difference. I cannot remember.
Definitely. 100%.
I mean, from my point of view, the owners, the new owners have come in. They're ticking all the boxes. They're doing everything, you know, that you know, proper owners should do. And you know, full credit to them for that. But I think the thing that really like sticks in my gut, if you like, what really annoys me is the fact that it's these little things. They're not even like how much would it have cost, you know, to repaint the walls and put, you know, bigger tellies up as opposed to like the little crappy ones that we had, and you know, just tidy things up. Like, how much does it cost? And that was my frustration from the Mike Ashley days, because I thought, you know, he just let the stadium just, you know, disintegrate. It felt like it was going to fall down any minute at times. You know, when you looked in certain parts of the stadium, and you just think, you know, the owners are just
it's
doing
the whole
everything.
experience, though, Chris.
Yeah.
Like if you think about St James's, right, 52,500 every single week ploughing there. If they extend it, do whatever, there'd be 60,000, there'd be 70,000, whatever we could extend it to, we would fill without a doubt. But if you look at St James's and you look at some of the new stadiums, so the Etihad, the Emirates, Spurs' new stadium, like you go for the football, but is it not the whole stadium experience? Being on that concourse pre-match, having a beer, the big
Match
TVs,
day.
somewhere to throw a bet on, all of those kind of things. Like it's an experience in the day. So for me, that stadium getting revamped and everything else, I hope when I get over there next season, I want it to be an experience again, because like Daz, at least 4 years since I've been. So I'm looking forward to coming back and seeing the cathedral on the hill being spruced up and shining like it should be. So I'm looking forward to seeing it all. And the owners will do that. They know that it might not be cheap in some of it, but it's an investment. It's an investment to keep the fans wanting to come back and having pride in the stadium. We know what it looks like for the outside. We've all got pride in it. But you want that same feel, even from the point of away fans coming. You know, I'm happy to keep making them climb right to the top. But, like, you know, you don't need to put an escalator in. But, you know, you want them to come and say, wow, what a stadium.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Definitely. And you know what? It was really interesting that you mentioned about, you know, the inside of the stadium. Going to Tottenham away with you, Chris, like there was an absolute mess when we were trying to get into the stands, because everyone just put their drinks down because you weren't allowed to obviously take your drinks into the stand.
I remember this. I remember.
What I couldn't believe, what I couldn't believe is we came back out at half time and it was like brand new. Like they must have had a team of people that, whilst we're watching the game for 45 minutes, came and whizzed around and cleaned everything, and it looked like nobody had been there. But then by the time second half started, it was absolutely trashed again. Good stuff, George. Welcome to the loaded membership family. But yeah, it was just little things like that just make a difference. They really do.
Can I just answer one of the questions here, because linked to George becoming a member. Jason was asking earlier as well, how do you become a member? I'm not sure you can from a phone. You might need to log on to via.
You need to be on the web, Daz.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's on the phone link, mate.
Yeah, the join button, you'll see it under any of our videos. You'll see the join button, and that'll take you into the membership. So that's where George would have found it. And I remember George from last night as well. But yeah, sorry, carry on, Pete.
No, that was it from me. Go on, Chris.
Sorry, Pete. You know what? You just jogged my memory. I remember it was just before we went into our seat. Obviously, it was half time, and we were going to go back to our seat, weren't we? And do you remember we were saying, and this is what the new owners have brought to us now. You know, we're looking around and we know that we can compete, and we know that we can, you know, have better things and aspire for better things. And do you remember, Pete, we were talking and going, should have somewhere to put your bin, your glasses and stuff, and they should be able to do this, and I would have done that, but that's because, again, it goes back to, you know, the new owners and what they've done for us as a club. We know that we can get better, can't we? And we were looking around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium like going, wow, this is incredible. But equally, we were thinking this could be us in a few years' time. This could be, you know, the position that we're in as a club. So it was really exciting.
100%. Definitely. And look, we can already see the questions coming in. If you've got questions about any particular transfers, get your questions in. We will get to them at some point. But the main man is here. Let's welcome him in. Mr. Jordan Cronin from Newcastle World. How you doing?
Welcome, Jordan.
Hello, lads. How you doing?
Good,
mate.
Good, mate. All good.
Good to hear.
Top man. Great to have you on as always. I hope you had a good break last week. A well-deserved break, by the way, should I say, after last season.
Yeah. The first break since the season had finished. So first break in about 6-7 months. So only a week off went a bit too quick for my liking, but back on the Newcastle United beat, ready to tackle all things transfers and see what the next sort of 11 to 12 weeks has to bring.
And tackle all things Newcastle United you did, because we have had movement finally. We've been desperate for a signing, maybe not the name that we expected to come through the door, but you've certainly been on it. George, thank you very much.
Cheers,
Absolutely.
George. And there's a few more. Peter just went crazy there for a second. Thank you, George.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, Roy.
Cheers, Roy.
Cheers, Roy.
Thank you, Anne, as well.
Thanks, Anne.
Quality. Always appreciate everyone that supports the channel. Really, really amazing. And those even last night that supported as well.
I was just going to say, I was watching last night while I was working, and I had it on, and some of the donations were mental. I actually couldn't fathom some of it out. That people would give that up, when things are as hard as they are across the world. So look, it is, as Pete said, it's massive, and we do genuinely appreciate it fully.
And it really does help the channel. It really does. It allows us to do things like what we're doing now and to make the channel even better than it is. But look, I'll come back to you, Jordan, because you came back this week straight onto it. And look, Nick Pope is in. And look, you wrote a piece about it saying the medical has been arranged for our second summer signing. And I'm assuming from what we've been hearing that the announcement is going to be imminent in terms of once the medical's done tomorrow, maybe even tomorrow night it gets announced, maybe even Friday morning. But look, Jordan, you wrote the piece. What are your thoughts initially on Nick Pope coming in? Do you think it's a good deal, or do you think we should have looked elsewhere?
Yeah, so just on the transfer first. So I believe he's travelling up tomorrow morning to complete his medical. So after that, players usually travel up to the stadium and get a few pictures and do an interview with the club media, and then it's announced. So I'd imagine all that'll be in the bag tomorrow. It's just then when the club decide to announce it. So there is a strong possibility that he could be announced as a player tomorrow night. Obviously, Matt Targett a few weeks ago got done on the same day. He travelled up on the I think it was a Tuesday or the Wednesday at the time, and then obviously it was announced by the evening. So that's a deal that's progressed rapidly over the sort of the last 24 hours. Full credit Luke Edwards, who obviously broke the story about Nick Pope's imminent arrival. There was a price in there between 8 to 10 million, but according to the Burnley source, they expect the fee to be a little bit higher than 10 million. So I'd imagine with that, maybe sort of the 12 to 15 million range, which for me is still a very, very good deal for Newcastle United. Look, he's an England international. Okay, so you've got Jordan Pickford that's ahead of him, a couple others as well. But he's still in the squad. He's still in and around the squad. So that speaks a lot of volumes. Like say this time last year, there wasn't any players in the England squad that was a Newcastle United player. Kieran Trippier broke that trend. So you've got that box ticked on Nick Pope that he is an England national. Look, he's played over 150 games for Burnley as well, and is regarded as sort of one of the best shot stoppers in the division. Very good coming for crosses. If you ignore what he done at St James's Park last season when he dropped Joe Willock's cross, I think. So we'll just ignore that. But usually a very reliable goalkeeper. Look, it's a smart move, I think, for that price for an experienced goalkeeper. I think it's good business. Is he a massive upgrade on Martin Dubravka? I'd like to hear people's thoughts in the chat, but I'm not sure. What it does do is look, there's not a lot between the two. So if you look at Caldolo, who was obviously previously number 2, Caldolo always done a fantastic job standing in place of Martin Dubravka. But look, when Martin Dubravka was in the start 11, there was no one going to displace Dubravka as long as he is fit. Nick Pope now can come in and can do that. So it provides very, very strong competition. and it refreshes the squad as well. The goalkeeping department's probably went quite stale over the years. You know, you've had Caldala, who's been there 8 years, Freddie Woodman 9 years, who obviously has left now. So it's just freshening up the department, and you're signing an experienced Premier League goalkeeper. And for me, you can't go wrong with that. So look, may the best man win in terms of Nick Pope and Martin Dubravka, who's going to start the season number 1. I'd imagine Nick Pope will probably have assurances that he will get game time because he wants to be in that England squad in November. So I can't imagine he'd make a move to Newcastle if he didn't have some kind of assurance that he was going to play games. But as I say, Martin Dubravka is still a very capable goalkeeper. So look, Newcastle have got statistically 2 of the best goalkeepers in the division now. So, you know, what a great department to have. Look, a sign of things to come. Hopefully that Eddie Howe keeps adding competition to the squad, and you know, competition makes players better, because I know they've got someone that's behind them ready to take their place. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the business. Matt Target as well, obviously a solid bit of business. So Newcastle have had a really strong start of the transfer window, I think.
I think the other thing there as well, if you look at Pope, let's say it's the top end of that, Jordan, it's 15 million. You've got Matt Target, Trippier and Pope, 3 good, solid England players, certainly two England team players, and, you know, Target with hopes for 45 million.
Yep.
Like, it's a savage piece of business when you look at it. And the thing with Pope as well, I was looking up last night, I think I put in our group chat, I think I put it on the chat last night on the show, only 2 keepers since 2019 have kept more clean sheets than Pope, and that's Edison and Allison.
And that's
that's in a struggling Burnley team. So that's and there's not many people quoting that. That's a massive stat. And his stats, if you actually look at him, some of his movement and stuff in his saves are really, really good. So I think it's a quality signing to put pressure on Dubravka. Yeah, delighted with it.
No, but it's like you say, it's you know, the stats don't lie, and I think that, I mean, look, I'll come to you, Daz. Do you think that a lot of people, like Martin's just alluded to, do you think that a lot of people have kind of, you know, underestimated the signing of Nick Pope, and kind of, you know, we were linked with Dean Henderson and his potential and his age. We were linked with 1 or 2 other goalkeepers from Europe. We've talked about openly, and a lot of people on the chat have talked about the likes of Lafont and maybe 1 or 2 others that have got the potential to be one of the world's best in years to come. But actually, is it a real shrewd bit of business that we've done?
It is, if it means that we can, we're saving some cash, let's say, to go after other players later in the transfer window. And maybe there's no one else that's jumping off the page, or the top level that they want to go after now that's available. They'll take their time, and it's a good stopgap. And actually, there's something I tweeted out today. The Tifo little video, I think it's 7 minutes long. It just talks about the stepping stone, and this is the way that Man City did it as well. I know we've mentioned this before as well ourselves, but the way that they did it bit by bit, like they brought in the likes of Given, they brought in loads of different players, and it's like they turned them over after a couple of years. Then, and that's what we'll try and do as well. Try and move ourselves up, but just to bring them in now, and that means that we'll have hopefully more cash and our financial fair play budget to go after some of the big players when it opens up properly, I guess, the market.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. You know, it's I saw from West Ham fans actually today that are absolutely gutted that it wasn't Dan actually. It was one of the quite popular West Ham sites. I can't remember what it's called. Is it Exchange West Ham or something like that? I can't remember exactly.
Oh yeah.
I think you'll know who it is, but they were tweeting out today and saying how good of a bit of business that we've got, and actually on the back of signing someone like Pope, they think that actually we're going to have a real solid season, and I think they were saying that, you know, we're going to fly this year off the back of that. So if other teams are seeing that it's a really solid piece of business, then surely, you know, it is, and they're potentially getting Areola and they're getting a decent goalkeeper. But Pope, having him in the squad is important. Now, there's a couple of things I'll come to, and I'll come to you first. You know, with this, Chris, is it important that Pope is an England international? We as a fan base have this slight obsession with us having English player in the England squad and being in and around the team? You know, is that important to you? And does that raise the profile of our squad having an English player representing, a Newcastle player representing England?
So to answer the first part of the question, is it important to me? Absolutely not. I think I've already made my thoughts quite clear on England, if I'm honest. So it doesn't matter to me whether Pope plays for England, sits on the bench for England, or doesn't get selected by England. That doesn't
Here.
it doesn't really come into my
Don't
thinking.
start. Don't
I know.
start.
Brazil, go on, Brazil.
No, it doesn't really come into my thinking. It's just not something, you know, that I particularly worry about, if I'm honest. That's not to say that I don't want him to kick on and do well. And it was an interesting, the second part of your question, Pete, in terms of, you know, will that have an impact on players potentially joining the club and thinking, oh, you know, the England international there? Absolutely, that could have an impact. So in that case, you know, maybe it is important. I mean, who doesn't want a team full of internationals? You know what I mean? You know you've a good club, and you know you're going in the right direction if you've got players who are getting selected for their country. So I don't think it's a bad thing. But me personally, it doesn't bother me either way. Equally, I look at Martin Dubravka, and I'm absolutely delighted. You know, he's the number one for his country, and that I think that's a good thing. But just because it's England, it doesn't have a big bearing on me. But having players who all play for England, you know, that could help us going forward. You know, if we have Nick Pope and then we have Kieran Trippier, hopefully Callum Wilson, you know, might get a look in if he has a really strong start to the season. Who knows? Matty Targett, you know. I still think it's mad how Matty Targett hasn't even been selected, because it's not like we've got an abundance of left backs or a rich selection to pick from. And I always rated Matty Targett even from his time at Southampton, and then obviously got the move to Villa, and I rated him then. So it's not just because he's a Newcastle player now. I still think he should be in and around that squad, and last season proved that for me. But to very longly answer your question, Pete, no, it doesn't play a factor to me. But I think having internationals in and around your squad's a good thing.
Okay, right. Now I'm gonna open the floor to all of you. I'm not gonna come to individual. I'm gonna open it up to you all. And for those of you in the chat, or already very, very vocal in the chat, which is fantastic to see as always. I'm gonna put this to you all. Nick Pope, Martin Dubravka. Who's better? Who starts the season? In fact, Jordan, I'll come to you first, and then it's open season.
So yeah, as I say, I don't. But people might disagree, but I don't think Nick Pope is a massive upgrade on Martin Dubravka. But as I mentioned, I do think Nick Pope will have assurances that he will play games out of the World Cup. So I'll vouch and say that Nick Pope will start the season. Yeah, but I also want to sit on the fence and say Martin Dubravka might as well. So
love it. Okay, interesting. Right, the floor's open, boys. What are your thoughts? Who's better, Dubs or Pope, and who starts the season? 2 points there.
Mine might be a bit controversial. If you'd asked me this question, Pete, a year, 18 months ago, without hesitation, I would have said Dubravka. Now, I agree with Jordan. I don't think there's much in it. And Jordan, I don't know whether you were watching us while you were away, mate, but we've been having this conversation and saying the exact same thing even before Pope came in. For me, I see Pope as an upgrade. I see Pope can challenge Dubravka, no doubt about it. For me, he can definitely challenge him, but I don't necessarily see him as a massive upgrade. But with Woodman going out and potentially Darlow going out, he's a big upgrade on them, in my opinion. But I think in terms of who's better, I might upset a few people here. In terms of who's better right now, I'm going to stick my neck out and go with Eddie Howe, and I would say just Nick Pope. And I think Nick Pope will start as number 1 next season, purely because, as you know, we've already said, I think he'll have been told you'll be coming in as number 1, and it's your jersey to lose.
Okay. Mark, Daz?
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I think both keepers, there's not much in them. Both good shot stoppers. Both can be poor at times with distribution, but I think Eddie will have the staff to work with them. But I think if I was laying bets, I would say Pope has less mistakes in him. So for that reason, I think Pope starts and Dubravka comes in at number 2 for a period of time. Like Chris said, Pope gets the jersey and Dubravka, he's told it's yours to lose. So that's the way I think they'll go. And I wouldn't be surprised if come January, if that is the case, that Dubravka looks to move on.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's thoughts.
Everyone else has said Popey, so I'm going to go with Dubravka just because I think I said it last night that it'll come down to preseason and how they're performing in preseason, and they'll make a call because they are very close. To me, they're I'm going to say Dubravka. Okay, I don't know why, but I'm just going to stick with Dubravka for the first game, and it's then his to lose. And if he fucks up, he's out, and Popey gets a run.
Do you know the weird thing though that has me thinking a little bit, and maybe there'll be plenty telling me I'm wrong. I don't think Dubravka has been 100% since the injury.
That's what I mean. I
don't think his movement, like his
Marv.
agile movement, like first time speed off the line, or his on foot movement, for me, since the injury, I don't think he's been as quick, and his movement's been a little bit. Not that he's. There's probably a couple of goals where I don't think he's moved as well, but I also think he stood chance of getting injured by not fully committing. When I've watched him sometimes, and that worries me a little bit because I think you either
Great
go
comment.
out, Pope and the Saint on the team. Anyone think a Christian is next? Very good. Go the whole hog and get Jesus. Imagine if that happened now.
I like that.
Yeah, that's Chris. You might find that one out. That's got to be a bet builder somewhere. But yeah, I just worry
definitely.
about. I just wonder is Dubravka not? Has it not healed up fully? Is he getting an odd twinge off the injury or whatever else? But like a couple of times the back end of last season, when we've been under pressure, you kind of want him to come and clear out and just take every fucker with him. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes he doesn't do that. He seems a little bit tentative to kind of really get in. And I think we've had a couple of occasions that we've probably caused ourselves more trouble in defense through that non-committal piece to it. But he's not been the same for me. But maybe that's playing a part of it. Maybe Eddie Howe sees that. And maybe that's why Pope's coming in. Look, who knows?
This is why I tweeted it out as part of a debate in a bit of a discussion, because it is, because for all the points that you've said, they are very, very close in terms of ability. And this is why it's a really good discussion. I love that name, Puddle's Perspective. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Not seen him on the chat before, so if you haven't already, subscribe to us, come and join the chat more often. A really good little comment in there. But just for my 2 pence, I think that, and actually going back to it, Gary Milligan, friend of the channel, put a comment in. I did put it in. 1 second. How can anyone compare the two? We've seen more of Dubravka. How many times have we seen Pope? It depends on whether you watch other teams play. I've seen quite a bit of Pope. I think we've all seen quite a bit of Pope in terms of watching him for Burnley. So we know what he's about as a goalkeeper, but some people don't, and I think that's a fair point. But just from what I've seen, I actually think as a player, Dubravka shaves it at the moment. As a player, I think he's a little bit better than Pope, but only a little bit. But I think Pope starts the season for the reasons why that Jordan and a number of you have said. I don't believe that Pope agrees to come to Newcastle United unless he's been told he's number 1. And I said it last night.
Yeah,
I'll say it
and
again.
there's loads of comments, Pete, coming up there saying there's no way Pope comes if he's told he's a bench warmer.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Paul Oxley, loads of the lads in the chat are going. He's in a World Cup year, wants to stay in the England squad. There's no way he bench warms for the first half of the season. No way.
No one's guaranteed a spot though either. Even Hugo
pre-season is going to call which keeper goes in.
Yeah. For the first game, that you could say he's going to start. But if he has a mare for the first couple of games, he's out then.
But again, it goes back to the other one that I said. I think last week we were talking about keepers and bits and pieces, and I said you got two good keepers. One's a league keeper, one's a cup run. You look at Liverpool, look at some of these others. Barring the back end of those runs, they play different keepers. Chelsea did when they're going through Champions League, Caballero or whatever his name was playing, and then they had the other lad playing in the Premier League. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a mix up of that somewhere in there as well.
I'll tell you what, though, boys, it's a great problem to have, isn't it? A great problem to have, and hopefully, they both stick around next season. Because if they do, we've got a really strong number one, and number two there going into the season.
When was the last time we had this problem? Two equal goalkeepers, very, very good, that you'd be happy with either starting. When have we last had this?
Given Harper?
Yeah, Given Harper, yeah, probably the two.
No.
You didn't, you weren't a fan of Harper, were you, Pete?
I didn't rate him at all. Sorry, Steve. I know he's watching the show right now, Steve Harper. I apologize, but look, I'm sorry. Give him a street.
There was a time, I can say 2 seasons ago now, that there was, whether we did Dubravka or Darlow, there was remember when Dubravka was coming back from injury and Darlow was playing really well. It wasn't last season, it was the season before that. And we were thinking maybe Darlow should retain the spot at that stage, and he was unlucky to get dropped. So, now, that was only a period in time. It wasn't just look at the draw, I guess, the run he was on.
But then look what happened. We kept him in for 1 or 2 games after that, and he dropped a clanger against a couple of clangers away at Villa Park, and then he had another clanger somewhere else, and it was like, right, get out the team now. You've done. You've had your stint. All this.
You really don't like Darlow. You really don't like Darlow, Pete.
To be fair, I'll be honest with you. Through that season, it was very much through gritted teeth, and there were some times where it was justified, where he earned his praise because he played really well. But sometimes it's a bit not really. He was never going to sustain it over a long period. That's what Cole Darlow is. He's a stopgap. He is the perfect number 2 for a Premier League team. But if you put him in a championship team, he's the number 1. That's for sure. But look, we could continue this argument
all night long.
All night long. What I will say is, and I looked at the sofa score, I've got it up, but I won't bring it up right now, is that Nick Pope got more clean sheets last season. He did play more games, but he got more clean sheets than Dubravka, which it feeds into exactly what Martin said earlier.
Big stat.
That's the one that we care about. Let's face it, we want the clean sheets.
And that was in a poor Burnley team.
I was just about to say that, Mart, a very poor Burnley team.
So if we can add, another top class defender and a decent CDM and a couple of other bits and pieces, and you've got a keeper then behind you who ain't conceding goals either.
Yeah,
the world is your oyster.
That our defensive unit is better than Burnley's and was last season. So there you put Pope in that team with that back line that could be improved with a couple of defensive reinforcements that we could be in a position where we're really, really strong. And I think, Mark, you've alluded to that. We've all alluded to that, which is fantastic. And like I say, it's a great conversation, which I'm sure is going to continue on even into the season as we start. But Pope's wanting to go to that World Cup, so he will no doubt start. And great comments from people in the chat as well. Up until that point, right? I'm gonna let you boys decide where we go next. Do we go defenders? Do we go midfielders? Do we go strikers? Do we go wonder kids? What are we going for tonight? Because we've got them all.
Let's go midfield. I'll throw one up. Let's go midfield and let's talk about the rumours tonight that odds have been dropping on Christian Eriksen to Newcastle. Betfair and a couple of others down from high 30s down to 3-1 or something tonight. Chris, I don't know. Maybe you're the betting man.
Yeah, no,
I know the odds have been slashed. I think there's a few now not even taking bets on it.
Yeah,
That's
there's a lot of rumors, isn't there?
25 to 1, 3 to 1, there you go.
No pictures, Mart, from what I've seen or what heard, but a lot of people are saying that Eriksen
He's in
is
Newcastle this evening.
And don't forget, last night
Mm.
we saw news that he'd rejected Man United. So then, when you're looking at it, and Pete, we were speaking about this, saying, if you're looking at it, you've got two choices. So he's, by the sounds of things, he wants to stay in the Premier League. He's either got Tottenham or Newcastle. Bearing in mind, we know he's told Brentford he's leaving. And I think I'm sure it was you that said it, Pete, not Daz, that for you, you were saying, why would he go back to Tottenham? Been there,
Peter.
That was me. That was a couple of us said that. I couldn't get why he'd go back.
Yeah.
Read a book once.
It doesn't make sense for me for him to go back to Tottenham. I think, you know what, we talked about it last night. It doesn't make sense for me. He wanted to leave. Like, we saw the documentary. Everyone saw the documentary. He wanted out. He didn't want to stay at Tottenham. Why go back? But you look at the way Tottenham are set up now, it doesn't actually suit Christian Eriksen in the way in which he plays. Like, it doesn't. So you'd be fitting, like, it's like square pegs, round holes. Like, it doesn't.
It suits Perisic, which is why they brought him in.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect signing for
Perfect
Tottenham.
fit. Exactly. He's a Conte man.
Exactly. And he fits into his system exactly where he wants. Christian Eriksen doesn't, which is why Tottenham, I think, have kind of dropped back. The key for me, and look, Jordan, we'll come to you in a second because, I want to get your thoughts on this. But the key for me is that in the last few days, is that Man United seem to be the ones that have dropped out the running, because they seem to be the team that he was likely to go to. But it's looking like, from the Manchester United Twitter and some of their handles that are coming out, are basically saying that their interest is softened, but equally, Eriksen has turned down the approaches of Man United of potentially going there, which really leaves us and Brentford, and that's where it then becomes really, really interesting. And then you link into the price drops, which, Jordan, you might have a spin on those betting things that are going all over the place. And there's talks of him being in Newcastle. I put up just a second ago. This is from, I think it might have been last week, that Scott Wilson from the Northern Echo, he put in his piece that there were preliminary talks that have taken place. So nobody's denying the fact that Eriksen has been talking to Newcastle. So it's not just come from left field. This has been talked about for a while now. So look, from your perspective, Jordan, have you heard that there's any links with Eriksen? Has there been any movement, or is it one that we think is going to be kind of kept under wraps?
Yeah, so I heard probably about a month back that Newcastle had put the feelers out, if you like, to Eriksen and see if he's interested. And then, to be honest, I've heard nothing since. And then you read sort of the reports that have been going over the last 3 to 4 weeks, and looks like he's going to go back to Tottenham. Actually, he's not going to Tottenham. Looks like he's going to go to Manchester United. Actually, he's turned down Manchester United. And then you also read about, Eriksen's keen to stay in London because that's where his family are based. But then there's also another report saying, well, actually, he doesn't want to stay in London. He's open to going elsewhere. So look, there's been several different reports on this, and unfortunately, I can't give any sort of clarification on it. The only thing I can say is I know that Newcastle had put the feelers out to Eriksen, and that's it. In terms of bookies odds, I don't know. I'll do the good side of bookies odds. So it was when Steve Bruce was appointed, and it was on Sky Bet. Steve Bruce's odds to become Newcastle United manager was slashed, and then within an hour, he was the news had broke that he'd agreed to take over as Newcastle manager. So that's one instance where you can take notice of bookie odds. I just think on most occasions I would never ever take notice on it. It's a difficult thing to go off it. If people don't know how bookmakers odds work, which I'm sure they do, it's just the amount of people that put a bet on something. So maybe there's been a report somewhere where a couple of fans have read something, or fans elsewhere have read something and thought, actually, well, if he's not going to Tottenham and he's not going to Manchester United, then I'll lump a bit of money on him going to Newcastle. Personally, I personally can't see Eriksen joining the football club. I'd love to see him join because, look, he's had a remarkable comeback. I remember we sat in January and spoke about Christian Eriksen before he went to Brentford, and I'll be the first to hold my hands up and said, look, I wouldn't be keen on Christian Eriksen because I don't know if he's going to be the same player. Obviously, what happened after the Euros, but look, he's came back and what an impact he made at Brentford, and has proved to everyone really that he's still capable of playing at Premier League level and still being a very good player at this level. Made countless of assists for Brentford last year. Got a goal, obviously, in the end, sort of help them stay up comfortably. So if it's an option for Newcastle, then I'm all for seeing Christian Eriksen Newcastle. But at this stage, I'm not too sure on it. I wouldn't be getting too excited about bookies odds at the minute, but as I say, maybe in 24 hours' time, I could be sitting here and left with egg on my face by saying that he's not signing, because look, this transfer window is so fluid, and he is a player that is being mentioned by Newcastle. So who knows?
That's down to 2-1 now. Literally, as we're talking, yeah.
Oh, really? Thanks, Jordan.
The other interesting thing, Pete, and again we talked about this with another player the other week, is Eriksen on a free within FPP fits the bill. Probably, I would think, is a player Eddie Howe would like. Good pro. Is he also very good commercially for the club, in that he's a good shirt seller?
Yeah.
Everyone in the world knows him now after that incident.
Plays for his country. Well known. Just another little side again that we don't necessarily always talk about with players. That, okay, the sky piece, that's got Sky, just if I can come up there. The player piece makes sense, but does the commercial sense fit the bill as well?
I think it's a great point, Mark. And if you look at from a not from a Newcastle perspective, what am I about? From a Brentford perspective, having Eriksen in their team has heightened not just the Premier League's interest, but people in Europe's interest because of the fact they've got Eriksen in their team. Now, regardless of what anyone thinks, what happened last summer, and the fact that he's come back from that and is playing as well as he is a big talking point. And the fact that he's still playing at that level and playing, as a top
and producing
talent and producing that quality week in, week out, it's a continued talking point. Now, having that for Newcastle United just heightens everything even more. It just brings more attention to the club. So, like you said, there is no doubt about it. Everyone in the chat, probably myself, probably you, Martin, and Daz, Rich, Chris, we're probably going to go out and get Christian Eriksen top and get one on the back, just because.
I'd love to see him in the black and white shirt. I think he could be amazing in that team.
Definitely. And you know what? At 30 years old, is it? Obviously, he wants to play at the highest level, clearly, but he doesn't want to be one of them that then gets dragged into a squad and becomes a squad player, comes off the bench here and there. He's going to be at 30 years old. He values playing football now because he was very close to not being able to do what he does. So there is going to be an element of his move, in my opinion, where he's going to consider wanting playing regular first team football. And I think he's going to get that in Newcastle, but I think he's going to get the best of both worlds, is playing week in, week out, but part of a project that's going to be going up. Can you guarantee that Brentford are going to go up and going to get better than what they did last season?
No.
And that for me is
Eriksen knows he's probably going to get 2 seasons as the club transitions again. So he's going to get 2 seasons. He's going to get game time. He's going to get a bit more global status. A lot of focus around Newcastle again, growth, team-wise, Saudi ownership. I'm sure we'll go through all of that again next season. So I think there's lots of pluses. Now, in fairness, Tim C makes a really good point. How much would the insurance be?
Yeah.
You know, are there insurance values there because of what happened? So that's a really good point from Tim, to be fair. All worth consideration. Great player, though. I'd take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like, literally. He'd be a quality player. Snap him up.
So all this talk about Ericsson this evening, is this all because the odds dropped, or someone put on a big bet, and then that led on to
I'd be more.
that
Paul
Newcastle.
is in the chat, and he goes, "Don't be sucked in by ITKs. Get all of that."
Yeah.
But the betting thing, there's no smoke without fire. I always think, and when you see odds drop sometimes as rapidly, maybe it is somebody, as Jordan says, somebody whacks a chunk of money on, and all of a sudden there's bets coming in there. Again,
hey,
Mad Mag Mark makes a good point. Yeah, exactly. He's gone to the bookies. Mad Mag Mark makes a good point. Ericsson comes in, Shelby goes out. Better quality? Oh. Absolutely, by 100 miles. So, you know, there's a lot in it. Let it play out, but it's an interesting one. I mean, again, you know, you go back to players, you go back a season ago, we're talking, you know, we couldn't even rake up the money to get Chowdhury on loan. And now we're sitting here going, fuck, I wonder if the bets are dropping. Will Ericsson sign for us? You're kind of going, what the hell? Like, so yeah, look, even if he doesn't come off, it's bloody great to sit and talk about it.
Definitely. Look, is fighting out with the likes of Tottenham and Man United, they would be hating that, because that's a sign of things to come. The fact that we look, it's not about money. We can match money, and there's no worry there with us with Brentford. It's all about what Christian Eriksen wants, and actually, as a professional, he's doing the right thing. He's weighing up his options. I think he's speaking to everybody, and he'll make his decision. I think in the next couple of weeks in the build up to pre-season, he's going to want a proper pre-season to be back fit and firing, ready for the new season. So definitely one to keep an eye out. And the fact that, you know, it's not necessarily in the news, but journalists are discussing it, and it's widely known, I think, within the journalistic world. Jordan's already touched on it. Obviously, we had Scott Wilson is touched on it already. That it's not just one of those things that are just passed in discussion. It's actually something that's been in the works, as Jordan said, for maybe a while. So definitely one to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Interesting one there, Pete. This next one here from Dermot says, worked the bookie for 6 years, would take a huge amount of money to cause that drop in odds.
Okay.
I have another one.
Interesting. Oh, Chris,
hang on. Now we've got the Scouse fiddle is back on. What's he saying? Bookies quite often do this as a betting strategy. If they move a market from 50 to 1 to 21, for example, people see this and then back it. The price goes in even more. However, not all the time.
That's where he's gone. I'm telling you,
he's in the bookies. Yeah.
He's telling us about his internet. He's having a bubble.
He's having to come off of this because he can't ring Sky Bet and do this show at the same time because his internet is shit. That's where he's gone.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And Jason Scott as well, 2-1. So again, it's definitely one to keep an eye on. It's not one that's just flash in the pan, or, you know, there seems to be a little bit of substance to this, but we'll see how it progresses from that point. Right, where do we go next? We have our resident French football expert on video tonight. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it because he's working, but he's got a little something he wants to say. Or we can look in a different direction. Should we go with what he's got to say?
Yeah, let's get him on.
It's a two-part video, as always, when he puts a video out. But yeah, let's listen to what he's got to say.
We'll play them back-to-back, Pete.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's get into the next topics.
Yeah, definitely.
Hi everyone, Lee Davey here, journalist covering French football. Well, we're back again, and unfortunately I can't be with you guys due to work commitments, but just a quick video update in terms of where things are. I know that it's getting highly frustrating for a lot of you. It's highly frustrating in the market in general, I believe, especially in France. So the situation as it stands right now, I think the two key players are Sven Botman and Hugo Ekitike. It seems that there's there's a feel coming out of Milan that they're not going to up their offer for Botman, which really seems as though it's a straight route for Newcastle to go and secure their man. Now, I believe this is probably the case. I think Milan are going to struggle to be able to match Newcastle United. I think they're in a similar situation with Renato Sanchez, who they thought they was going to sign, and it looks like PSG are going to steal ahead in that deal. I think it's very much the same with Botman here. So I've said all along, I think that the move for Botman will come off for Newcastle. I think it's just a very slow burner, which is usually the case when negotiating with Lille. It's going to be it's a boring one. It's a frustrating one for Newcastle fans. I completely understand that, but I think it will get over the line. I really do. I think this is something that's going to just take a little bit more time. Hopefully, in the next week or so, there'll be a little bit more movement than there's been over the past week, and there'll be some more concrete discussions or concrete news on that. But again, just keep tight on that one. I think that one's going to come through. Ekitike is one that, again, look, Newcastle have done all they can from their end, and it seems to me as though Ekitike's agent is keeping his options open for his player. I know there was some links recently with Real Madrid. I don't really think there's much in that. I'd be very surprised. I think any links that there were with Paris Saint-Germain a few weeks ago seem to have quietened down as well. The only one I would keep an eye on would be the links with Bayern Munich. Now, Bayern Munich have come in for a lot of French-based, Ligue 1-based players over the last few years. Some of them haven't really, worked. People like Corentin Tolisso had a lot of injury problems, but they came in for Bouna Sarr at Marseille. Tanguy Kouassi went from PSG to Bayern Munich, and he looks like he's being shipped out. So I don't know whether he'll look at that as, as a bit of a red flag if Bayern do come knocking. But if there is any, and if there is any truth in that, it possibly could be the case purely because Bayern do like to do a bit of shopping in Liga, and so there might be an eye on him, and that in itself might, there could be potentially something in that. But, for me, again, if I was a betting man, I'd put my money on Newcastle. Newcastle have been there from day one. And certainly, he'll know that. He'll know that Newcastle really want him. And, have made multiple bids from what we're told. So I think that will get over the line. And again, it's going to be another one of those slow burners, I think. Another one brought to my attention is Adrian Rabiot. I spoke on the show a couple of weeks ago in terms of negotiations can be very difficult through his agent and mother, Veronique. So from what I can gather, he's not in Max Allegri's plans going forward for Juventus. I think this coincides with the impending acquisition of Paul Pogba. And I think, with Juve having a couple of really difficult seasons, I think they'll look to get back on track, especially with Inter really strengthening their attack. Juve are in a position where they could really fall behind. And, for a club like that, they need to ensure that they're fully equipped to go toe to toe. I don't think Rabiot features in the plans. He's been very up and down in Turin. I don't think it was a great move for him, but I do believe that, there could be something in this for Newcastle. I think it would be a great move for him. Look, he's a good player. There's no doubt about it. I just think the move to Juventus was wrong. He showed flashes of his skill and his brilliance because he has that ability. He showed it at PSG. He can play on the big stage. There's no doubt. He's got a bit of attitude about him. He's not the easiest player to deal with. So if there was any red flags around that, it would be, when we look at Eddie Howe and this harmony that is built within his squad, this could be something that potentially could be a bit of upset to it. Again, with his agent and mum, but also Rabiot as well, who, he can carry a bit of baggage at times, but, there's no doubt in his talent. He's a good player. And it would be an interesting one, but there potentially could be something in that. I certainly wouldn't rule that situation out. Pete, I spoke to you about Xavi Simons at Paris Saint-Germain, young Dutch midfielder, attacking midfielder, forward, so he can play in all of those three positions. He was acquired from Barcelona, from Paris Saint-Germain, and on a big contract, and he was about age 15, 16 when he went to PSG. PSG have handled their youth players completely wrong, which hopefully will change in the coming season. Looks like there's going to be a little bit of a reform at the club, but this is one of the players that has got a lot of ability, and a lot of the fans don't want to see him go. He was used sparingly last season. I mean, sparingly, he's putting it well. He was barely used when he should have been. He's great attacking midfielder, skill, great touch, pace, can finish. But he needs football, and that's where the issues come in. Now, this deal should have been tied up. His contract comes to an end next week, and he can go. Barcelona were linked with him again to go back there. I don't think that's going to happen now, but there's a few clubs looking at him. Newcastle were to pick him up. Newcastle getting a great young talent, but it'd be an absolute travesty that PSG are letting this guy go without, giving him a real shot in the team. And I think it will come back to sting PSG in the future. I really do. Great young player, lots of talent, lots of ability, and again, worth keeping an eye on, especially over the next week with his contract. Well, he'll be a free agent next week, so with his contract nearly up, I think you put a great project like Newcastle have got in front of him, and I think he'd be interested. So we'll see what happens with that, but certainly, Xavi Simons is someone that Newcastle should be keeping an eye on, 100%. But no, good to speak to you guys, and I hope you're having a great show, as always. Cheers.
Cheers, Lee.
Good stuff.
Spot on.
Good stuff. Yeah, a little bit of an update from Lee. Obviously, disappointed that he couldn't join us tonight, but I'm sure he'll be back next week and beyond. But look, let's talk about them. There was a few players that he mentioned there, and look, the ever kind of changing situation with Sven Botman. At one point, we looked like he was going to in Milan. The next minute, it looks like he's coming to Newcastle. The next minute, we don't know where he's going to go. And then, as Lee alluded to, it looks like that, we're in a position where AC Milan have now pulled out the race, that they don't feel that they've got the capacity to be able to sign him. But I just think, it's a really, really difficult situation to navigate. It is very, very frustrating for everyone at the moment. We are in a difficult position because we want players in, certainly of their ability. But look, from your perspective, Jordan, Sven Botman, what's the movement like from your side of the camp? And the reason why I'm asking you that is because, as we've just alluded to, the Milan press have been very, very protective of their club and of their situation with certain players, with Sanchez, with Botman. Whereas I've actually said that the English press and the Northeast press have been quite balanced in their approach to these signings. They've not given Newcastle fans everything we wanted to hear. They've been quite balanced. They said, look, it's not looking likely, or yes, it looks more likely now. From your perspective, how does the land lie with the situation with Sven Botman?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a very difficult transfer to keep on top of, because it's just sort of so fluid. A few weeks ago, it looked like, it was a few weeks ago. It looked like he was, when Newcastle had won the race. There was talk of him potentially flying over after that. After he finished his season with Netherlands under 21s, I believe. But the player, what hasn't happened, and the players went on his holidays, and it now sounds like Lille are playing hardball with the figure. Newcastle thought they would do a deal at £30 million. It now sounds like that Lille have moved the figure up to around, I think, £37 million. So, it's proven a difficult deal to do. Very frustrating. It's frustrating for Newcastle. Because look, they've chased the player since January. They've been the top target since January. So it's hard to give a definitive answer on what will happen with Botman. I was talking in Italy today that AC Milan had actually pulled out of the deal, pulled out of the race to sign Botman because they couldn't afford him, essentially, because of Lille's demands. Now, I'm not sure how true that is, because I can count lots of times where the press in Italy have said that AC Milan are about to pull out of the race. So I wouldn't read too much into that just yet. But yeah, I mean, as I say, it's a very difficult deal to do. It's proven very fluid. It's changing all the time. Maybe hasn't changed over the last sort of 7 days, because one thing at the minute is that players are on holiday, don't return until pre-season, until usually the 1st of July. So it might just be a period now where the Botman deal goes quiet, and it'll hopefully pick back up in the next few weeks when players start returning. Botman doesn't want to be at Lille next season, so I think he's had assurances that he can't leave. So if he's still a AC Milan player a Lille player by the time they get back to pre-season, he could end up kicking up a fuss and demand that he leaves, and that's when a transfer can sort of ramp up again, because the player's trying to force an exit, and Lille should really let him go. But I don't know, it's frustrating. I think the movement on the fee is this, it's this thing called Newcastle tax, where because Newcastle have got this tag of being the richest club in the world, clubs are putting this Newcastle tax down and demanding extra £10 million on top of what you usually would if it was another club. So the impression I get is that Newcastle won't be afraid to walk away from this deal in a few weeks if they feel that Lille are taking the mick out of them, basically. And for me, if Newcastle don't sign Seb Botman, it's not the end of the world. Look, I want to see the player sign, and good feeling is I do think Newcastle will sign him. But look, Newcastle have other targets. A lot of supporters now, we'll come on to Hugo Ekitike, but Hugo Ekitike, Seb Botman, I think a lot of supporters have sort of fell in love with players that haven't signed yet, and are so fixated on these players signing for the club. But if they don't sign, it's not the end of the world. Look, Dan Ashworth has came in. You've got Eddie Howe scouting players as well, Steve Nixon. Newcastle have several targets, so if they don't get Seb Botman, they'll go and sign another player, and it'll be a player that improves the squad, and Newcastle will be stronger, have a stronger squad by the time the start of the season, or at least end the transfer window. So as Mehrdad Gadusi said, patience is a virtue, and I think that probably references the Seb Botman deal, because it is proving a little bit frustrating at the moment.
I think the other thing as well, I don't know if anybody's seen it on Twitter, and I haven't gone back over the clips, but apparently today on TalkSport, his defensive partner Jose Font said on TalkSport he's heading to Newcastle. Like it's done. Like, now I've seen a few tweets. I haven't got on to TalkSport to try and have a pry of I think it was on Jim White this morning. Maybe I'm wrong, but he literally came straight out with it that he's it's just waiting to be finalized. So
do you think more on the back of that, because I'd heard that as well, and that got tweeted out loads throughout the day after the interview had happened. Do you think fans are excited about that, but do you think there's a little bit of hesitancy because of the way in which, like Jordan said, it's ebbed and flowed, this transfer saga in the last 4 or 5 weeks? Do you think fans are a little bit like apprehensive to say right and get excited about it until it's done?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it was Saturday night. There was loads going on. We were talking about, as normal on the NUFC Twitter timeline, which represents, let's not forget, a very, very small portion of the fans who actually support the club. People are starting to have that breakdown about, we should have signed somebody. I even seen somebody put up, it's like being back in the Mike Ashley era. We're not going to sign anyone. I was like, I put something up and I just said, lads, give it time, chill out, let the club do their thing. 6 months ago, we were sat with Mike Ashley owning us with no hope, not a glimmer. These owners have come in, give us hope, started to change the club around. We've stayed up, and they have a clear plan of what they want to do. So for me, as to be fair, as Jordan says, if we don't sign Sven Botman, I fully believe that as a business and as a set of owners, they have a clear, structured plan, even more so. And again, we'll say it probably time and time again as the next 2-3 years move on. The best signing this club have made is the man that's at the top of that chain at the minute, which is Dan Ashworth. Yeah. So this guy is a serious, serious player. I listened to a few podcasts on that yesterday when I was in work. One of them, I think, could even have been an Italian podcast. And the guy said, Dan Ashworth is a serious, serious negotiator. He's one of the best in the business. He ain't going to be robbed by anybody. He's going to stick to his terms, and he will quite happily walk away if the deal is not right. So I'm happy to sit back. Would I love Botman? Absolutely. Do I think he'll sign? Yes, I do. Am I in a hurry? No. If we don't and we get somebody else, as Jordan says, as long as they improve, and I go back to what we said, I think last week on the show, which is it's about evolution, not revolution. And I put it, I think I put it in our chat, I put it in the group chat last night when you lads were on the show. And I said, look at Man City's first 10 signings when Sheikh Mansour took over. Rocky Santa Cruz, Gareth Barry, Craig Bellamy. Right? Robinho was the only one that they signed. And at the time, if memory serves right, I think he was something like 32 million or something. And everybody was going, holy shit, that's mad money. But like everybody else that came in, Wayne Bridge, players like that, they were good, seasoned pros. I was going to say right attitude, but then you look at Bellamy, who was a fucking head case, and you kind of go, maybe that's not him. But all the other guys that came in, Wayne Bridge, Gareth Barry, they were all good seasoned pros who were doing well for their respective clubs and left to start a new evolution of Manchester City. So Man City didn't just go and spend 200 million the first season. They did it over 5, 6, 7 years to get to where they are now. So, lads, we're 6 months in. Calm the fuck down a little bit. We will get there. Do you know what I mean? And I still have great hopes that in my lifetime, you know, I'll see us win a trophy, and we will. But just chill out. If we don't get this one player, they will have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Will I think do I think he signs? I think he does. But it takes time. It's not an easy deal to do.
Martin, was it you or Eddie Howe that said that first? It's evolution, not revolution.
That was me. I sent it to Eddie. Yeah. I also sent him. I did one of those pictures of him with me and him together, and I sent him that as well.
It was actually, sorry, just on the evolution revolution. It was actually Craig Hope who came up with that in a press conference.
It's so true.
It was after Manchester City away, I think. Craig Hope came up with as evolution, not revolution, and Eddie Howe ever since has used it. So
it's great.
Yeah, it is. It is. I've started to use it as well.
Daz is going to get that tattooed as well as the Joe Linton thing on his ass when he gets a call up.
And Popey still.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
I think the thing is that the big thing for me with any player that comes in the club, as per Trippier, as per Dan Burn, Bruno, Matty Target, even Chris Wood, I want players that want to die for that black and white shirt. I want the right players with the right attitude that are prepared to work their socks off to make us better. I don't care if they're multi-million-pound stars. I wouldn't give a shit if they came from League One. I don't give a shit as long as they work hard and they give it their all for that club and us. Couldn't care where they come from if they improve the team.
Nah, I think that's a fair point. Chris, Daz, anything to add with regards to Botman before we move on to Ekitike?
No, well, it's kind of, we've said it on many times. We've been saying it since January. But yeah, look, we have to be getting closer to the end game here for the Botman situation now, and the Hugo Ekitike. We have to get there soon.
So what
next
we think
10
about,
days, I'd say.
What do we think about Ekitike then? Because Lee's made a good point on the video that he put out. Is that obviously, you know, the Real Madrid, there was Real Madrid links that was quickly squashed by Marca, their Spanish paper out there, and there were then links to PSG, which has now gone very, very quiet. It does very much seem like the agent is trying to force this move, but Bayern, he talked about, is one maybe to keep an eye on, because they have got a tendency to go out there and buy, you know, players from Liga and bring them over to the Bundesliga. So, you know, for the Ekitike point of view, this for me, and I don't know what you guys think, Jordan as well, anyone get involved in this, I find this a strange situation compared to Botman. We know, and we've heard from journalists and people relatively close to the deal, that, you know, we were questioning about Botman whether it was him stalling the deal because he wanted Milan. Milan press were pushing that. It turns out he's not, but it was more so Lille wanting more money, which we're arguing and negotiating with them. That's fine. With the Ekitike deal, we've got an agreement with the club. The players agreed the wages. Everything's set. Like he should be at the stage where we're at with Nick Pope, where Pope's coming in for a medical tomorrow morning, as Jordan said, and the deal should be wrapped up. So I find it really strange that that deal hasn't yet been done. Do we have the same confidence that maybe we had a couple of weeks ago that that deal was going to get done, or do we think that the agent is going to try and just take a better offer for a team that's maybe higher, got a higher reputation at this point?
Yeah, I think the agents are. I think I said a few weeks ago. Actually, I think his agent is a bit of a problem in terms of the fact that he's holding out for interest from other clubs. Which, to be honest, look, it's frustrating for Newcastle fans because you want to have the players signed up and you want them ready in time for pre-season. But I don't blame the player or his agent really for holding out or seeing what other clubs come forward, because look, he's a 20 years old now, was a highest scoring teenager in Europe last season, really highly rated, tipped to be the next big thing from France. If his agent expects Ekitike to become a world-class player, then I don't blame him for potentially holding out for a Bayern Munich or a PSG. At the minute, Newcastle can sell the player a big project and he can be front and centre of the project that Newcastle are building to become a world-class team. But at this moment, Newcastle aren't a world-class team, and deals like that take time. In a couple of years' time, deals like that could probably happen straight away. But at the minute, Newcastle, for Botman, for example, going in against AC Milan can offer you Champions League football straight away. AC Milan are a massive, massive club, whereas Newcastle aren't at that level yet. There will be in a couple of years' time or 5 years' time, but not at the moment. So you just got to be patient with deals like this. You're going up against top-class clubs. Just be patient. These deals take time. To get good players at the stage Newcastle are currently at takes time, and you've got to beat off competition from other clubs. So, look, Ekitike, his agent is potentially holding out for interest from elsewhere, but I think Newcastle, again, same with Botman, good feeling. I think Newcastle will get the deal done, but again, you just got to wait It is frustrating, I get it. But look, the way it is at the minute, Newcastle, as I say, the situation they find themselves in, going up against top class clubs, it's it's going to be a struggle. And I hope fans, look, it is frustrating, but I hope fans understand that as well, because look, we all want to see Newcastle United be world beaters, and hopefully in years to come they will be. But at this present moment, they're at a very early stage of a project. And that's the only thing that can sell players at the minute, because they're not competing in Europe. Bruno bought into it. Sorry, he bought into the project. You just got to hope other players will. In a few years' time, Newcastle will be able to offer European football, and that's when it will become easier, hopefully, to sign players like Ekitike and Seb Botman, or at least sign them quicker. But look, both players are still on the agenda, and I still think both players will sign. It's just proven frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, Lords, I don't think it's a case of the agent with the Botman situation. I think that's more Ekitike. I think it's Lille that are holding out for the deal. And Lee mentioned in his video that Lille are very, very difficult, hard negotiators. However, someone else put further up, I think it might have been Mark Todd, about Ekitike has apparently finished his holiday. He wasn't away for long. But apparently he's back in Rome now, and a lot of people are speculating that could mean that he's cut his holiday short in order to sign a deal. The preseason isn't very long away, so could well mean that there's a deal in the offing. I think, I do believe, in my opinion, that if a deal for Ekitike hasn't been done by this time next week, maybe Thursday next week, that I think Newcastle will look elsewhere. I think they're not going to wait around forever, and I think they're going to want a striker and a player to come in ready for pre-season, and they're not going to wait around forever. That's just my opinion on that. But look, anyone else want to touch on Ekitike before I move on to one or two others that Lee talked about?
No, I think it's just another one that plays out in the process, doesn't it? As Jordan said, it takes time. Again, it is the project of the club and what we can offer. I don't think wages and stuff like that are massive issues for some of these players. I think that they're probably the easier things to sort out, I would think. But again, you're selling. It's like selling a timeshare. overseas, you're selling them the 2 weeks in the sun to begin with. You're not selling them the retirement home, if you get what I mean. So if you're a young and up and coming player and you want to be front and center, yeah, Newcastle's great. That can get me money. But if I really want to be on the big stage, then I want an opportunity at Champions League. But you got to weigh off those processes with, okay, well, how much game time is he going to get? He goes to a PSG, he goes to a Bayern. Where's he going to get that game time? At Newcastle, he's probably going to start every game. So to me, if I'm, and again, I think we've had this chat. Certainly, me and you, Pete, have had these chats before. If you're a young sportsman in any sport, and you want to be at the top of your game, ice hockey, baseball, rugby, anything, you want to be on the pitch, you want to play.
Exactly.
And you go to a team that might be a division under or whatever else, because you're going to get 90 minutes every week. And I think that we can offer those players that certainly at Ekatike's age that they may not get. Botman's probably a different thing, but I think you'd be selling him the whole, like we've said before, you become our Vincent Kompany. You're the mainstay of our spine for the next 10 years.
I think it's a valid point. Daz, did you want something to add to that?
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that we've got like about 26 questions or so in the chat already. Do you want to do some quick fire ones just to direct them towards Jordan?
I do. However, a few people have touched on it in the chat. There has been a little bit of an update with one of the players, Rafinha, in fact, and actually, it came out from Newcastle NUFC 360 that Fabrizio Romano has said that Rafinha is among, or Newcastle is among the clubs that could lead for Rafinha potentially to get that deal done. Now, if anyone's kept an eye on Rafinha, it looked like last night that Arsenal had put their first official bid in. I think it was documented from The Athletic that it was way below the valuation and it was likely to be rejected. I don't know how that's transpired or how that's continued on over the course of the day, but the fact that Fabrizio Romano has said that Newcastle could be leading for someone like Rafinha is quite interesting. So yeah, I don't know what you guys, everyone in the chat, is what your thoughts are on that potential.
Leeds want 65 million, don't they? That's the money that's being touted. Apparently that they're not willing to drop below 65 million for him. I think as a player, I think he pretty much had his heart set on a move to Barcelona, but. Yeah. I don't think they can't sign players fully at the minute because they haven't got the funds to free up. So I don't necessarily think as much as you're hearing names like Barca and stuff kicked around. I think they're in a little bit of trouble myself. So I don't think they'll really be in that market for it. Is there anybody else out there could throw 65 million at him? Yeah, probably. But I think. Can I see us going for him? I'm not so sure. Would you take him? Fucking absolutely. But 65 million is a lot of money. Is he worth 65 million? I'm not sure, but I think Arsenal's was something like half that, 30 or 35. I think they was quoted had gone in, and it was knocked back before it even really got out fully into the press last night. I think so. Jordan might know a bit more, but I don't know. But again, Fabrizio Romano, to be fair, is very well respected. He doesn't come out with stuff if there's not something in it. So we'll see.
Obviously, that's just come out just recently whilst we've been on the show, Jordan. I don't know whether you've heard anything about Rafinha and Newcastle. There might not be nothing out there at this moment in time, but if there isn't anything out there, what are your thoughts on Rafinha in general?
Yeah, so I haven't heard anything regarding Rafinha, but frustratingly with Rafinha, he's a player that Newcastle could have signed when he was at Sporting Lisbon, I believe, and he went to, is it Rennes in France? I think that's how you pronounce it. So Newcastle actually had a chance to sign the player then, but I think it was like 13 million at the time, and it was obviously a deal that was overlooked. So yes, the £65 million price tag probably sounds about right. Probably goes in the same category as Moussa Diaby at Bayern Leverkusen, where look, he's a player that you really want and a player that you probably consider, but in terms of the finances of the deal, can you get it done? I'd argue it's probably quite difficult, but you never know. He wants out of Leeds clearly this summer. Arsenal are pushing hard to sign him. So look, if Newcastle can sign Rafinha and somehow sign Rafinha, look, you don't need me to tell everyone in this chat what a fantastic signing that would be.
Chris has already took it to heart, Jordan. He's already put the money on Rafinha now as well. He's doing a double.
Straight to the bookies. And you know what? You know he's gone straight to the bookies because he's a big fan of Rafinha.
He is.
You know, Chris has talked about Rafinha. Chris and Richie talked about Rafinha early on in the days of the takeover. We are looking for a right winger. I heard today, and I can't remember who I heard it from. It might have been Dom Sker from the Shields Gazette, said that Newcastle United's priority, and Jordan, you might think differently, you might agree with this, is that Newcastle's priority this season in the summer window is getting an attacking right-sided midfielder to push forward and be, at a level where they're consistently producing quality football. So, it does make sense that if that is going to be where we're going to invest our money, that someone like Rafinha or Moussa Diaby, like you said, is where we're going to spend a chunk of the money. Like, what are your thoughts? Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Transfer is a transfer priority. Yeah, a wide forward is top of the list, but so is a centre defender, and so is a striker as well. So, but for me personally, the priority is probably a central defender. But as I say, you've got three positions there where they are all priorities. But if I had to spend big money, it would probably be on a centre half, to be honest. But I think if you're going to spend big money, an attacking wide forward probably demands more money than what you would spend on a centre half, if that makes sense. So look at the wide areas at Newcastle. I think Alan St. Maxim had a bit of a off second half to the season, so pressure's on him to deliver next year. You've got Miguel Almiron, who's still there, who had a strong end of the season. Let's give him credit, and then Ryan Fraser as well. Ryan Fraser was obviously a player that Eddie Howe knows really well. But look, Newcastle need to strengthen the attacking positions. I think that's clear, and a wide forward, is on the list. But as I mentioned, so is a priority, but so is a defender, and so is a striker as well.
A case of watch this space. New information is coming out from all angles of Newcastle United Twitter and journalists all over the place, including Jordan as well. He putting his stories out all over the shop. And what I will say, just before we come to some questions, we've had, I think, nearly 40 new subscribers during the show tonight. So massive thanks to all of you guys that are joining, guys and girls, should I say, that are joining Loaded. Fantastic stuff. On with that. Keep on with your subscriptions. Lots and lots of people in the chat. Lots and lots of people that we starred that are new to the channel. So make sure that you are subscribing and joining the Loaded family, and you'll be able to catch all the other shows that we're going to be putting up. And it's going to be an interesting week. Lots and lots of shows planned. So look, Daz, do you want to throw out some questions? I know there's a few for Jordan and a few in general out there.
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of combine three questions together here, because people are talking about outgoings, right? They're asking, and we know about Freddie Woodman going to Preston, but any news on outgoings at centre back? Clark, Fernandez, Lascelles, that's one. Then there's also, tie that in with Paul Oxley asked about Gale, about going on loan and someone paying half his wages. And we'll leave it at that for the outgoings. And anything about outgoings in general, Jordan, you've heard?
Yeah, so I mean, two names that were mentioned there, Kieran Clark and Dwight Gale, I imagine they'd probably be the next out of the door. In terms of Kieran Clark, was told a few weeks back now that he was he was attracting strong interest from West Brom. So looks like a reunion with Steve Bruce could be on the cards. So who are Kieran Clark?
No.
And then,
dear.
yeah. So, look, Kieran Clark will go this summer. I've no doubt about that. But in terms of like a potential departure, I don't really consider Kieran Clark as a departure because he was left out of the squad last year. Left out of the squad in January. So the players that were left out of the squad, I almost sort of like discount because they're not going to get back in the 25-man squad anyway. So look, their feature of the club, unfortunately, apart from Jamal Lewis, who I think will get a chance in pre-season, like Isaac Hayden, obviously he's gone. Kieran Clark is on his way out. Freddie Woodman was left out of the 25-man squad, loaned out. He's gone. So them players there who were left out. Jeff Henrik will go at some point as well. Clark to West Brom is one that I've heard, and then Dwight Gale. It's a tough one with Dwight Gale because he's on high wages. I'm not sure the exact figure, but I know his wages are ridiculous for a striker that hasn't scored in 18 months, 2 years, whatever, how long it is. Didn't start a game last season, so with Dwight Gale, you're almost going to have to give him away. So it could be that Newcastle do have to pay some of his wages just to get him off the books because, Championship clubs won't be able to pay his wages outright unless, say, a club that just went down like a Watford maybe or a Norwich, but even then Norwich is probably a bit of a stretch. I'm trying to rack my brains who else went down. Oh, Burnley can't afford that kind of money, so yeah, you're going to have to pretty much give away Dwight Gale. And then another name as well. Yeah, Dwight Gale, sorry, Middlesbrough. I'm glad you put it on the screen. Caldolo's been linked with Middlesbrough as well. So look, for them players now, I know Caldolo's settled in the northeast, Dwight Gale's settled in the northeast. So, if they can strike an agreement with Middlesbrough, it's perfect for both players because they don't have to move their families.
Did Borough not sign a keeper this week, though? I thought Borough signed a keeper early in the week.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it was a young lad from Northampton. But I'm not sure if that was
for first team or just
more
for the future.
Backup sort of type keeper.
Fingers crossed it's backup.
No, I didn't see who it was. I just heard it, and I seen a few people tweeting going, probably doesn't suit Darlow now because Borough had signed someone. But if it's a future, then obviously Borough would still work out for the kid.
I don't hate Darlow. I just want him. I just want him
like
gone.
him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not. I don't hate him. I just
hate's a bad word. You just don't like him.
Yeah. I don't hate him. I just think we need to move some of these players.
He's been a great stopgap for 8 years, but time to go.
There's a follow-up question here as well, Jordan, and using Shelby to Fulham, maybe.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one with Shelby because I've heard that he wants first team football next season, and I think look out the current midfield, he probably does just get in, but Newcastle midfield so well stocked. Obviously, the star man now is Bruno. No one's going to displace him. He's levels above any of Newcastle United's midfielders. You've then got Sean Longstaff, who's just signed a new contract. They will, I'd imagine, probably be given a little bit more of an opportunity next season. Given he signed the contract, he's probably been given assurances over some kind of playing time. Joe Willock is another one who's in that area. And then I'm trying to rack my brains here. There's a midfielder I'm missing, I think, is there? Or have I named them? Oh no, sorry, yeah, and it is Shelby. Yeah, of course, yeah, sorry. So look, I don't think Shelby's guaranteed game time next season. So if there's a club that could afford Shelby, and it would probably fit Shelby in terms of say Fulham, for example, are coming up from the Championship, do have money, could afford Shelby and would probably take him, and he'd probably better their midfield. So I haven't heard anything on a Shelby exit. I haven't heard of any clubs that have came in for Shelby, but I think there's a possibility he might leave if there is someone that can come in and table an offer and and pay his wages, because Shelby's only got a year left on his contract. So look, a lot of players at Newcastle, the futures aren't safe. A lot of players done well last season to keep the club in the division, but this is a Newcastle United now that want to go on and achieve bigger and better things. And although it's a slow build, if offers are coming in for players, then look, there's no reason why I would say no to selling someone like Shelby, because say he's got a year left on his contract. I like him as a player, but as an overall Premier League midfielder, I think he's fairly limited, to be honest. Great passing range, but his work rate for me has always been something I've struggled with. Personally, just watching him, I think he can get better. So in the midfield, in the centre midfield area is key to your team. It's the spine of your team, ultimately. So a lot of waffle there, but I suppose one to watch on Shelby.
And Joe Linton in there as well, by the way.
Yeah, Joe Linton, of course. Yeah, see, I knew I'd missed someone else. That's the thing with Joe Linton. It's almost like he's saved Newcastle, sort of going out and spend £40 million on a centre midfielder, because he just became this midfield phenomenon. Give Newcastle an option I never thought they'd have. Love Joe Linton, and who would have thought this 12 months ago that Joe Linton would be looking like a £40 million centre midfielder. So there's competition in that midfield area, and if Shelby wants guaranteed game time, then I think he's got a battle on his hand.
Yeah, I hope we see the one big one. Sorry, Daz. The one big one for me for next season is I really hope we see Joe Willock get back to what we think he has. I'd love to see Eddie and the team work with him. That the game against Leicester, I thought he was class. He looked like back to the game we know he can play. So I'd really love to see Joe Willock have a really good season next season.
I think this is a good question for you, Jordan. Comes from Michael. Is there any news on the progress of the redevelopment of the training ground? Just a week away now, when the players report back, and to add on to that, where they're going to report back to if their training ground is under construction. Do they train around the diggers, or what's going to happen? Or are they going to go somewhere else for a temporary period of time, or what's your thoughts there?
Good question. But I mean, everyone would have seen the photos, I presume, of the work starting at training ground. Now, Newcastle have submitted planning permission to North Tyneside Council, and for the extension of the building hasn't actually been approved yet, I don't believe. So work that's going on now is sort of things that they can't do without building permission, about planning permission, tidying things up essentially. What they're doing with St James's Park right now, we would have seen the photos there of flags going up inside the concourse, walls being painted that haven't, and bigger tellies as well, obviously, things that have been left for 14 years, because St James's Park has been left untouched by Mike Ashley, unless he was putting up Sports Direct signage on top of the Gallagher roof, or on the back, or on the front and back of every single stand at St James's Park. So to answer the question, there is redevelopment. The full redevelopment hasn't happened yet because the planning permission hasn't came through, but they are doing little bits and bobs. Could Newcastle relocate somewhere potentially when it happens? Possibly, I don't know. I don't know the full sort of ins and outs. I'd imagine obviously the training pitches will stay there. They'll be left untouched. So it might just be a case for, maybe 6 months, give Newcastle players a porta cabin and a few balls.
Change in the car.
Yeah, get changing the car in your own kit, essentially. But we'll just have to wait and see how it plans out. The training ground, look, it's been upgraded to get it up to standard, really. But that's just the short term. In the long term, Newcastle will build a new training ground, and look, that's really, really exciting.
Sort of proper swimming pool and get rid of the bins will be fucking upgraded anyway, Jordan.
I mean, it doesn't take a lot to upgrade the training ground.
No, exactly. Just get bigger bins.
Yeah,
we all get two players in.
We've all joked about the training ground.
Double
became a disgrace. Sorry, go on, Daz.
Sorry, yeah. There's two questions here. One from Tom Dixon, and I'm going to link them together. Jordan, is there anything on James Ward-Prowse? And we also have in UFC, Ryan asks, would you prefer James Ward-Prowse over Ericsson? General question.
I'll answer the first part of the question. So, James Ward-Prowse, I'm not sure if that is a genuine link. I think a lot of the talk of signing James Ward-Prowse as Newcastle fans sort of just seeing him as, you know, a sort of fantasy signing, because James Ward-Prowse has been mentioned several times by people in the fan base, even my Newcastle supporting friends, of someone that they'd love to see at the football club. But whether that's been a genuine link that Newcastle have explored, I'm not too sure. But look, I'd be all for James Ward-Prowse signing for the football club, because I mean, set pieces just make him sort of, well, obviously is the best in the Premier League, isn't it? These set pieces are incredible. Would I have more over Ericsson? That's a really tough question. Now, what's the age difference? I think James Ward-Prowse is probably a couple of years younger, is he?
27 or so, is he?
27, isn't he?
28.
Yeah, and
28.
Ericsson, don't know, can't remember.
I think Ericsson's
30. Just
Yeah,
turned
Yeah, it's just a fee.
Yeah, he was 30 last year, wasn't he?
I mean, if you look at it now, then you know you get Ericsson on a free transfer. If you want to go and sign Ward-Prowse, you probably have to pay upwards of 25 million. So
plus,
plus. So yeah, it's a difficult question that, but I'll probably just say Ericsson just based on the fee. Both great players, both great set pieces. So no, a really difficult question. That I wonder what you lads think about that one.
I take Ericsson.
But either one to do good.
I take Ericsson, and again, I keep my my powder dry for towards the end of that transfer window, and to splurge then. And I keep saying that I'm just living in hope that it goes mental in the last 2 weeks. But so that's why I bring in Ericsson and leave James Ward-Prowse where he is.
That deal works, doesn't it? Because it fits with the FPP. It's a free transfer. The wages problem would be a problem. Do you know what I mean? Again, you get him over two, or even, you know, you probably get 3 seasons out of him. You got 2 solid seasons, and you got one where he was, you know, half gaming or whatever else, you know, with an opportunity to maybe stay on and go coaching or do other things. Again, those wages would be, you know, pushed out over 3 years. So again, FPP is not coming nowhere near it. So it makes perfect sense. But
I think Paul from Toon Review said it well. I don't think James Ward-Prowse suits our style of play. I don't think he fits into our team. He's a great set piece taker, but I think with the way in which you play with the high press, I don't think he suits playing for Newcastle United personally. As well as that, Jordan talked about how much it could be worth. He only signed a contract last summer because Aston Villa had a £40 million bid rejected. I think he signed a 5-year deal. So you're paying then 4 years off his contract, which is going to then up the price.
He's a 50 mil plus, I think, in my
100%.
eyes.
For me personally, to end on the James Ward-Prowse conversation, I don't think he's part of the conversation. I think it's either Lucas Paqueta or Christian Eriksen. I think that's who they're going to. If they're going to go for any of those midfielders to go into the midfield, it's going to be one of those two, in my opinion, from the players that we've been linked with. I don't think James Ward-Prowse is part of that conversation.
Okay.
Maybe last question, because we could be here all night talking about the questions. There's loads, and it's probably one that Pete was probably on your list, because I know you normally have a list of like 40 players, and we get to talk about 6 every night. But
get it ready.
This one, Toon, I can't pronounce his surname, but from Fulham.
That's come up a few times tonight. I've seen that in the chat a few times tonight, with a swap deal for Shelby on one of them.
Jordan.
Yeah, good player.
I haven't heard anything on that. No, I'd seen the link yesterday. It came from the Daily Mirror there. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle did look into signing him. I think he's a decent player. Probably not the centre half sign that you'd hope for, but I think it's just Newcastle potentially exploring alternatives, and just in case they don't get Botman. But I liked him. Even though Fulham went down that year, I thought he was quite a decent centre half. But I think it would be a difficult signing to accept by Newcastle fans. Like, look, I know we looked at January, and you signed Dan Burn, who probably at the time fans weren't too pleased about, but then obviously performances spoke for themselves. Chris Wood was another one. But I think in the summer transfer window, if you were to end the summer transfer window with Tosun, Nick Pope, and Matt Targett as your sort of signings, then I think it probably would be a little bit underwhelming. So if Newcastle probably need to target a bit bigger than that. But that said, he is a solid player. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh because, as I said, in January, Newcastle, bar Kieran Trippier and Bruno, did sign players that you wouldn't necessarily have thought before the window opened. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one. I think that it's just Newcastle putting the feelers out really to see who they can sign if Sir Botman doesn't arrive.
It's that thing with. Go on. Sorry, Daz.
I was just going to say quickly that I remember that we're talking about 800 million we could potentially spend. The interest must be building on that. We're not really touching it so much yet. Sorry, carry on, Pete.
But and it feeds into that point in that actually we're boxing very, very smart in the window. And yes, if we can't spend 36 million euros on Botman, Tosin Adebayo is in his last year of his contract. You would think going to Fulham and trying to get him, who was a starter, you would think it would be easy because he's in a position where he's going up to the Premier League, or maybe not easy because he's going up to the Premier League. But actually, with a year left on his contract and he doesn't look like he's going to sign a new deal, it might be worth Fulham cashing in on him and using that money to get someone else that's going to be there maybe long term. So that's where that deal maybe comes from and makes it more viable for Newcastle United. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Would you just really, really quickly? Would you take him?
No. Man United want more from us than anyone else as well.
The price tag was about 8.5 million, wasn't it? But I imagine his wages are fairly high. I mean, it wouldn't be a terrible option, but I'd hope Newcastle would go and sign better.
Yeah, I'd rather have Lascelles.
That is big. That is big.
I just thought I'd get that in there.
Breaking news.
Big statement.
That's how bad that signing will be, by the way. That's playing on words.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Actually, sorry, I was just going to say, just on the wheeling and dealing, Pete, you were mentioning there. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but Fabrizio Romano was on a podcast. There was a few excerpts on Twitter the last couple of days. I didn't actually cop the podcast name that he was on, but one of the things they were talking about the Botman and Ekitike deals. And what Fabrizio Romano said on the podcast was Newcastle and in Dan Ashworth and the people who are negotiating for Newcastle are probably the hardest negotiators in the transfer market at this stage, and are not being messed around. So it's again, I'll try and dig out the name of the podcast and I'll try and get it on my Twitter feed.
It's a Spanish one, I think.
Yeah. I don't know who it was, Daz, but it was really, really good. But it was just some interesting.
He does that every week. I've seen it before as well.
Yeah.
It's a K Galazzo. That's it.
That's exactly worth watching if you didn't catch it. Yeah.
The one thing that he said is actually, and Martin's absolutely right. What he said is that for all the people that are pointing fingers at Newcastle United ownership in their negotiations, they are very, very good. And that's what he emphasized, the point that they are very, very good.
Good and clever.
Yes. So he emphasized that very, very much. And he then made reference to the fact that we're about to put a 36 million euro bid in for Botman as that next option. So, it was a really, really good point that was made. And actually, lots of people would have watched that. And I think it would have made other clubs and negotiations kind of, stand up and take notice that we're not going to be messed around. And you bring like that, like Martin said, you bring Dan Ashworth into the situation. You are ensuring that we are going to be tough negotiators and we're not going to be walked over.
Yep.
So it's great to see.
Exactly that.
Cool.
Look, we'll end. I think we'll end it there, unless anyone's got anything they want to add to that. But look, we've got a few signings that potential signings that we've not even come to. Ones that we've been put in the chat. Fabian Ruiz. You've got Thorgan Hazard. Julian Brand from Dortmund, who are potentials coming to sort of Newcastle United that we haven't even discussed tonight. We could talk for hours, but look, we're not going to. We'll keep them on hold. We'll see how they progress over the next week, and we'll come back again to talk more. But if you haven't yet seen the shows,
yeah,
you got
because we talked about some of those last night, Pete.
Yeah, we did. We talked about a few of those. Some of them were breaking last night that we didn't yet discuss, but we'll see how those ones progress as the week goes on. Lots and lots to discuss. We've got the free transfer, fully loaded transfer. If you haven't seen it, a few extra players in there that are still available on a free that may be of interest of Newcastle if things don't go the way they want to. And Daz, I'll let you talk about this. Lots to come in the
I'm going to give the shout out to the sponsors first. I'm going to do the pictures. Martin's going to tell us about the sponsors.
Okay,
go over it, Martin. Go on. Do you remember? There's a test.
Oh, who's that again? Yeah, 1881. The wonderful Bronwyn. Obviously, her brand you can get online. Fine range of t-shirts and the loaded mag hat. Is it? There you go. See, still remember. Been a while since I did it yet. As modelled by the lovely Daz sometime. So that's her. So get on there to 1881. And then we've got Simon, who is always in the chat, shybairns.com. Again, does a fantastic range of t-shirts. As I said a few times, I had one which has been nicked by the wife. That's the one I've got there, the red one. So yeah, we've got them. And there's Loaded Pete. So yeah, we've got some of these coming out, I think, at some point. Mine and Daz's have been hijacked by the Irish Postal Service, who now want us to pay import tax on them. The bastards. So ours have been, well, I haven't even got my letter. Daz has got his letter to say he's paid up. But yeah, thank God to Brexit. So there it is there. Yeah, don't get overloaded. We've all got some coming out, but I think Simon's going to get them up online and you'll be able to put them. And he does donate some of the profits that go off the kit out to the Newcastle Food Bank and stuff like that. And I know he's also looking at doing something.
Well, we're going to explain that, Martin. We're going to get Simon on, and we're going to probably get our who we're going to donate to, hopefully, fingers crossed as well, on. Exactly. So we'll do a proper launch of that.
Yeah,
we can get our t-shirts and stuff as well.
Yeah. So next year that'll be coming out. And then pins and prints. Obviously some fine designs, as you've seen. So Eddie Howe, Trippier. Loads of good stuff on there. Get online, have a look. They do some cracking stuff and normally do throw up an old promo code here and there. So there's some excellent stuff on there, like me, decorate your bar or whatever you're going to decorate. Or if you've got a club room or anything else, get on to them. So yeah, that's them. And NUFC, how many sponsors we got? NUFC memorabilia, retro NUFC. I know, and we may have a little bit more news next week. For a fine line of Newcastle kits, old and new. And I know he was the first one, I believe, tonight to put out a picture of the supposed new training top or match day training top. I don't know. Do we have a picture of that?
No. I wasn't sure if it was a question in the chat as well. People are asking, is it actually real? Or,
maybe we'll get that up for one of the other shows. But if it's not, it's all over Twitter anyway. It's basically got the stadium and the time bridge and
Funda.
Really, really good top if that is going to be it. But yeah, so thanks to them as well. All of those sponsors for looking after us, doing bits, giving giveaways and all the other bits and pieces. And we probably do need to get back into a few prizes and bits and pieces over the next while.
Cool. So we're just going to mention then, thanks, Martin, about the shows coming up. Now, Pete, I have a question for you because we didn't get to talk about this. Are we going to mention the show on Sunday? Is that still happening on Sunday at 10 a.m.?
Both shows for next week are confirmed.
Oh, have to get over in the morning now. That's
three, remember? But the first one is so we can go straight ahead.
Let's go out and get them out.
Let's go.
Thumbs up, Pete.
The first one.
Yeah, go for it.
Thumbs up. All right, here we go. Next week, here we go. Starting Sunday.
Sunday 10 a.m.
Yeah, so we've got the Daily Mirror's Simon Bird that's agreed to join us. It's at a different start, and Daz quite rightly said, it
10 a.m. What the hell, lads?
It
On a
definitely
Sunday.
benefits the Aussies, our Aussie followers are loaded. Because it's going to be Sunday at 10 a.m. start, and Simon Bird's
Exactly.
going to join us
See, Shane Mawson, we do love you.
from the
and
Mirror
Oogie
Towers.
and everyone.
Simon Bird from the Mirror Towers is going to join us to talk his opinion on Newcastle United perspective. And then, so it's a really, really interesting one. Obviously, different perspective from himself. Let's see what breaks in between that. And then the big one next week.
Time out. We have a
Hold
show
on.
in between there, Pete. You're forgetting another show. On Monday, we have a show as well. We have the man that's going to be unsilenced. Sean Casey is back with us on Monday evening, so that's one for everyone to tune in with. He's been very quiet on Twitter, so I'm sure he has a lot to say. So he's back to talk to us on Monday evening at 8. So that's one as well to keep an eye on.
You know what we should have done with that picture? We should have put the Bane mask on him.
Yeah, I was thinking.
I thought of that.
We could have done the Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
That is the Silence of the Lambs. That's the moth.
Yeah,
the
no,
moth.
I thought you were going to put the whole proper mask on. Not as good an
And
editor
then-
as you thought you were, really. Then
But and then the Fully Loaded Transfer Show is back next week, and Jordan, we haven't confirmed it with you yet, but we've kind of shot the gun there. Fingers crossed.
Does this not go back to the conversation when we talked about this last week? And I went, I don't even consider Jordan now because he's just one of the lads. I don't think about him as one. To be fair, he stays on. He's more regular than me and Chris. So to be fair, he is one of us.
You're spot on. But we have to take into consideration Jordan's football during the week, so we have to make sure that fits nicely. But look, we've got a big show planned for next week. I don't know if you want to put it out there right now or whether you want to wait.
Let's get it out.
Let's put it out. Let's put out the
out
ice.
Go for it. We've got the Magic 3, the big dogs in the house. Next week we've got Jordan, the main man, Newcastle World's own. We've got the Mail Online and TalkSport's own Lee Davey, but we've also got a very, very special guest joining us in the panel, Pete Graves from Sky Sports. So it is a star-studded lineup. The three bad boys of NUFC talk are in the house Wednesday. So potentially Wednesday or Thursday, we'll confirm that. So really, really looking forward to that show. Hopefully lots of transfers breaking, lots and lots discussed. I'm sure there is. There was plenty tonight and that we didn't even get through. So
that's a show and a half now. There's that show will not be matched next week by anywhere else.
I'm sure our good friend Paul from the Toon Review is going, ooh, at home now when he sees that. But make sure you subscribe to Paul to Toon Review as well. We had him on last night. Yes, we mentioned the show last night as well.
Yeah.
But that's it, I think.
That's it.
Back to you, Pete.
Yeah.
No, not
3 next week, starting early Sunday morning.
I'm done. I'm already preparing for that big monster of a show next week with the three bad boys of NUFC. Yeah. I think we need to get that out. The three bad boys of NUFC. They know their stuff. And you look. Let's be honest. I think it's just been put in the chat from P. Davidson. 3 honest journos or 3 honest people within the Newcastle United media that know their stuff. What more can you ask for? Jordan, absolute legend, part of the furniture, part of the Lodi family, 100%. Lee, obviously, with his French football knowledge, brings a lot of what's going on out there from a French perspective to the NUFC. And then you've got Pete Graves from Sky Sports, who is obviously a huge, huge supporter of all things NUFC and what we do. And obviously, there was a little bit of an interaction with yourself and Pete today, Jordan. So, it's great to see that the Loaded family are connecting. They're clicking. They're on the same wavelength, which is superb.
No, top guy, Pete. I first met him probably about 5 years ago now. I done work experience at Sky Sports at the time, and I think he was quite pleased to see someone that had came down from the northeast, because I know obviously Sky Sports is in London, so you don't get many people going down there with Geordie accents. So yeah, he was quite happy to see us in the newsroom, and yeah, great guy, and what a guest to have as well. So well done, lads. The guests you're getting are top notch. So everyone in this chat should be subscribing to this channel. Perhaps don't listen to my waffle, but certainly listen to Pete Graves and Lee Davey as well, who was obviously his knowledge of French football is second on. So keep smashing it, lads. You're doing an excellent job, and it's a pleasure to come on every week and talk about transfers and talk about the club that we all love.
As Chris has just said
in
the chat, you're one of our own. So when you talk about us, Jordan, you're talking about yourself, because like the way you've come in January, and like you said, it's like a duck to water, and it's been a pleasure to have you on. Great to chat to you. Great knowledge of Newcastle, and all things that are going on in long may it continue. As long
I think that's the key though, Pete, mate, isn't it? It's Jordan's come in, and I said this to the other night. I sometimes when we're talking about who's coming on the shows, I don't sit and go, oh yeah, we've got Jordan coming again, because I just automatically think, oh, he'd be turning up with the rest of us. So it's like, it is literally for me, I think sometimes obviously there's a load of people watching. I mean, like there's, we've had upwards of 600 there tonight. It's like just literally coming on and having the crack with your mates. And I think that's what people enjoy. We are getting the guests and we do that, but it's because we do get people like Jordan that come on, and it gives us stability and it gives the channel credibility, because we come on, we have a bit of crack, we call it out at times. We've said between us as a group of lads, we don't always agree at times, but what we do is we try and bring you honesty. We bring you the front up. We don't present bullshit, and we tell it as it is. And if there's something out there, we'll have the crack with it. If it's a rumor, we'll call it out. If it's not right, we'll call it out. And I think people are seeing that, and we start to get that content out there. But that I think people need to remember, in particular, there's lots of hard work that goes into that, Pete, chasing guests, sponsors, everything else. There's a lot of hard work that goes in, even when we're not on shows, to bring that content to people. But again, it's made all the better for people like Jordan and Lee coming on regular, because it's enjoyable for us. I like listening just to the two lads. I'd happily sit and just listen to it as well. So yeah, thanks very much, Jordan. It is massively appreciated.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
What's up, man?
Cool.
That's take it home.
That's us. That's it. We're out.
That's it. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks, Jordan, for joining us. Actually, there's one thing.
Sunday morning.
There was a message for you yesterday, Martin.
I seen it. You don't need to play it again. I did text it. Yeah.
Et ta mère, et ta sœur, et ton boulot, et ta caisse pourrie, et cette merde t'appelle de l'art. Va te faire, et tes potes que je reverrai plus jamais. Tout le monde sauf ton chien. Allez tous vous faire foutre. Je jure que je voulais le meilleur quand ça s'est terminé. J'ai même tenté de me mordre la langue quand tu as merdé. Maintenant t'envoies mes potes des textos remplis de questions. Ils ne t'ont jamais aimé depuis le début. Sortir avec une meuf, je déteste pour l'attention. Elle a rompu au bout de 2 jours, quelle connexion. C'est comme si tu faisais n'importe quoi pour mon affection. Pour ça tu t'y prends de la pire des façons. Je ne voyais qu'en toi, mais c'est fini maintenant. Et j'essayais d'être sympa, mais tu ne comprends pas. Donc laisse-moi l'expliquer.